Welcome everybody, Renaissance Gamer Noah here. Today's topic is the Gerudo tribe and the curious fact that they never appear in the Wind Waker. You see, everybody knows the role that the Gerudo played in Ocarina of Time because, come on, with a theme like the Gerudo Valley, how could we not fall in love with them? But nobody ever pays as much attention to the Gerudo after the events of Ocarina of Time. And this theory in particular is designed to uncover whether the Gerudo are at all present in the Wind Waker. Therefore, what we are going to do is use our knowledge of the Gerudo and their real-life historic basis to theorize what happened to the tribe after the time split. Pirates, people! This theory involves pirates. I love pirates. You love pirates. I think we all love pirates. So yeah, this theory will begin with the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time, shift over to the Gerudo in Majora's Mask, and conclude with a hypothesis of the Gerudo's fate before the events of the Wind Waker. Sounds fun? Sounds good? Alright, let's go! In Ocarina of Time, the Gerudo are a tribe of fierce women thieves that live in an outpost in Gerudo Valley near the desolate haunted wasteland. The entirety of the tribe is made up of women, except for the one fitted Gerudo male who's born every 100 years to be their king. In Ocarina of Time, that man is named Ganondorf, a powerful warlock who gains the trust of nearly all the Gerudo and attempts to conquer the Kingdom of Hyrule. During the 7-year period in which Ganondorf achieves his conquest, the Gerudo remain isolated in the Gerudo Valley and are ruled by the second-in-command Nabooru. A few comments from the NPCs actually reveal that, ever since Ganondorf arrived, Nabooru began to act differently, acting with greater cruelty and pushing the Gerudo tribe to become much more violent in nature. The truth, however, is that Nabooru was brainwashed. When Link encounters Nabooru as a kid and adult, he learns that she was brainwashed by the black magic of Kome and Kotake and forced to serve Ganondorf against her will. Okay, so I know that was a lot. Let's pause and see what this tells us about the Gerudo. They are a tribe of thieves, that much is clear, but they don't particularly seem evil, nor bent on destruction. In fact, I believe that their primary purpose of living was to be isolated, but it was thwarted by Ganondorf because he forced them into a conflict with Hyrule, and even had to brainwash Nabooru to keep the favor with the rest of the Gerudo. That doesn't exactly seem mutual. Furthermore, the descent of Nabooru implies that the Gerudo by their nature do not want to engage in political acts such as conquering Hyrule, but instead are content living a life of chivalrous thievery. I mean, if such a thing exists. So that's the personality as promoted by the events of Ocarina of Time, but there's one more element of the personality that is missing from this discussion, and an important one: religion. Many people have created videos explaining the influence of real-world religions in the Zelda franchise, so I will only comment on the religious influence that pertains to the Gerudo, Islam, and the Middle East. This is the Gerudo symbol that Nintendo has now adopted, but before, the Gerudo symbol looked like this. The symbol is very similar to a symbol used to represent the Islamic faith, only inverted. The same symbol appears on many blocks throughout the temples and on the mirror shield, which Link obtains in the Spirit Temple, which resides in the Gerudo Desert. You see where I'm going with this. Furthermore, the religion of Islam historically has had its base of followers in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East. This also matches the characteristics of the Gerudo because they are a tribe of all females, much like the Amazons from ancient Greek mythology, and reside in the Gerudo Desert, much like the 7th century Arabs. Keeping to this practice, the Gerudo dress resembles medieval Middle Eastern dress. This is no coincidence. The religious and geographic correlations between the Gerudo and the religion of Islam is important because it tells us about the personality of the Gerudo tribe that Nintendo had originally envisioned. Now, I'm not claiming that the Gerudo practice the religion of Islam per se, although to be fair, I have no idea whether that is true or not. But I am claiming for this theory that there exists sufficient evidence to infer that the personality of the Gerudo was largely inspired by the culture of the Islamic states during the medieval and Renaissance period. We will use this later, so let's hold on to that. Alright, so now let's take a look at the Gerudo in Majora's Mask. Well, okay, that's kind of a lie, because first I want to mention a tiny little theory about how the Gerudo even exist in Termina and in Majora's Mask. If you subscribe to the theory that Termina is just a parallel universe of Hyrule, then you probably just believe that the Gerudo in Majora's Mask are parallels to the Gerudos in Ocarina of Time, and that's totally fine. For myself, however, I believe that since Termina is a separate location altogether from Hyrule, the Gerudo in Majora's Mask are actually the same Gerudo from Ocarina of Time, the same tribe. My first reason for believing this is that, well look, the Gerudo symbol used in the Pirate's Fortress is the same symbol the Gerudo used throughout Ocarina of Time. If they were just a parallel tribe, then one would imagine that they would use a symbol that parallels the Gerudo symbol instead of just using the Gerudo symbol itself. Second, If any of you have seen my theory about the Ancient Ones, a really old video, then you know that I believe the portal Link enters during the Twin Mold boss fight in Stone Tower Temple is connected to the Gerudo Desert in Hyrule and Twilight Princess. A lot of words there, but hopefully you followed. Many people have commented on the video that if the Ancient Ones were able to use that portal to travel to Hyrule, then it is equally plausible that the Gerudo were able to use that portal to travel to Termina. The region of Akana was already densely inhabited at the time, so perhaps the Gerudo just moved to Great Bay. And the third reason is directly related to the topic of this video. Given the culture and personality of the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time, would it make sense that the Gerudo would become pirates in Majora's Mask? In short, yeah it does. So let's talk about that. The Gerudo in Majora's Mask are identical, or nearly identical, in appearance to the Gerudo from Ocarina of Time, and they too are a band of only women. The key difference between the two groups is the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time are desert-dwelling thieves, and the Gerudo in Majora's Mask are sea-dwelling pirates. This distinction is a large one. The desert and the sea are, well, they're opposites. One is defined by the lack of water, and the other by the bountiful presence of it. But does that mean that the Gerudo from Majora's Mask do not share the same cultural heritage as their Ocarina of Time counterparts? That is there a connection between the Gerudo in Majora's Mask and the religion and culture of the medieval Islamic states? Yes there is, and it's so cool because it involves pirates. Okay, maybe I shouldn't celebrate too much because the pirates I'm talking about were slave traders. For those of you who do not know the history of the Mediterranean slave trade, I'm referring to the Barbary pirates. Beginning in the 9th century, piracy has been a central feature of North African Islamic populations, in which a dominant ethnic group, the same group of peoples who helped conquer medieval Spain in the year 711, was the Berbers. The Berber pirates, later known as the Barbary pirates, frequently raided coastal towns in Italy, Sicily, Spain, and the larger Mediterranean world. The primary goal of these raids, yes, was to acquire prisoners, usually Christian, to sell off or use as slaves. The famous Spanish writer Miguel de Cervantes was himself once captured by a group of Ottoman pirates and taken to Algiers, one of the largest cities in the Ottoman Empire. My point is, North African piracy was very much present in the cultures of medieval and Renaissance Islamic states. So the fact that the Gerudo are pirates in Majora's Mask is very consistent with their cultural heritage. If the Gerudo were not to live in a desert, the sea would be the most logical next place. I did not mention this earlier, but for those of you who have not played Majora's Mask, yes, in the game, the Gerudo are only encountered in the Great Bay, and Link encounters them first when he has to rescue stolen Zora eggs and has to raid the pirates' fortress, and then briefly later when the Gerudo pirates attempt to sail to the Great Bay Temple. The fact that the Gerudo did not otherwise impact the plot of Majora's Mask indicates that, much like in Ocarina of Time, the Gerudo in Majora's Mask are content living in isolation as pirates. Although it is important to note that the Gerudo pirates are much more violent than the Gerudo thieves. Led by their leader Aviel, the Gerudo pirates value the price of the Zora eggs more than they value the life of the baby Zoras, and they fatally wounded the Zora guitarist Mikau. Perhaps the explanation for this violence is that the Gerudo pirates are based on the Barbary pirates, who were very violent. That's just me guessing, so don't quote me on that. Based on their Islamic heritage, the personality and appearance of the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are identical. So now the question remains, how will this help us unravel the role, or lack thereof, of the Gerudo in the Wind Waker? Now, not every Zelda game features the Gerudo. They make a small appearance in games like Four Swords Adventures, so it should not be too big a deal that the Gerudo aren't in the Wind Waker. But nope, it is. Wind Waker is a game that is all about the sea and pirates, so I felt that it's the least I could do to search through the game for any crumbs the Gerudo left. And actually, there are a few remote hints and theories, which is why we're here today. Let's expand on those theories with our knowledge of the culture of the Gerudo pirates. To begin, let's visit the haunting words Ganondorf relays to Link in the cutscene before their final battle. The words go as such: "My country lay within a vast desert. When the sun rose into the sky, a burning wind punished my lands, searing the world, and when the moon climbed into the dark of night, a frigid gale pierced our homes. No matter when it came, the wind carried the same thing: death. But the winds that blew across the green fields of Hyrule brought something other than suffering and ruin. I coveted that wind, I suppose." For those of you who are not well versed in cryptic Gani talk, many people interpret that Ganondorf is referring to the destruction of his country, the Gerudo Desert, at the hands of the gods. As I'm sure you know, the entire land of Hyrule was flooded before the events of the Wind Waker in an attempt to seal Ganondorf away forever. This explains why the Gerudo did not appear in the Wind Waker. There was no way for them to escape the flood, and they all perished. Or did they perish? See, that would have been a satisfactory explanation had it not been for the following conversation between Link and Tetra. Right before Link is launched in a barrel into the Forsaken Fortress, Tetra comments that the Forsaken Fortress was once the hideout of a group of pirates, but that it is now more dangerous since good old Ganon in town. Okay, that's something. Who were those pirates? Could they have been Gerudo pirates? Spoiler, I think they were Gerudo, and here's why. First, the design of the Forsaken Fortress appears to be somewhat, and I preface somewhat, similar to the many coastal fortresses that were scattered throughout the Mediterranean to defend against pirate attacks. Tetra did mention that the pirates residing here were in competition with other pirate groups, so perhaps this design reflects this. Clearly the fortress is difficult to approach. This chimes in perfectly with the culture surrounding the Gerudo. Out of all the races from Zelda lore, Majora's Mask clearly established that the Gerudo were very capable in the art of piracy, and their inspiration from the Barbary pirates only furthers this likelihood. Second, the gameplay of the Forsaken Fortress is that of stealth. Link must avoid being spotted by the many moblin guards, who, upon spotting Link, toss him into a jail cell. This gameplay is similar to that of the Gerudo Fortress in Ocarina of Time, but even beyond gameplay, the presence of jail cells in the Forsaken Fortress is significant. Clearly, whoever the original group of pirates were, they found the need to have jail cells for potential prisoners, much like the Gerudo in Ocarina of Time. But why would pirates need jail cells? Couldn't they just execute their enemies or even send them away to the Great Sea? Well, what other purpose could a prisoner serve? For a pirate, prisoners could be held for ransom if they are people of importance, or simply forced to work as galley slaves. A dark turn for the Wind Waker, I know. I'm sure you connect the dots here. The Barbary pirates did just that, so it is reasonable to infer that the Gerudo pirates would as well. And third, we must remember that during the plot of the Wind Waker, Ganondorf resides within the Forsaken Fortress. Ganondorf, as you might recall, is a Gerudo male, so besides the pure strategic value of the Forsaken Fortress, perhaps our man Ganondorf chose to make it his lair because the Gerudo pirates had once lived there. Out of sentiment? Or heck, maybe Ganondorf kicked them out because they would not follow him. I don't know, it remains a possibility. But there is one more thing to note in Tetra's comment. She said that a group of pirates used to reside in the Forsaken Fortress. That means they don't anymore, which means that the group of pirates is either somewhere else in the game or no longer in existence, aka they are deceased. Oh yeah, here it goes. Is there not something in the Wind Waker that fits both of those descriptions? Is there a group of deceased pirates within the Wind Waker? The rumors I've heard tell of a man who researched the reaches of the sea where the ghost ship faded in and out of sight, and that he drew a map of its movements. But it is said that as soon as the man had finished drawing the lines of that cursed map, he died a most unexpected death. This quote from Lenza was about none other than the ghost ship. Mystery surrounds the ghost ship. It only appears in certain quadrants of the Great Sea on certain nights, and its origin and story are never explained within the game. The inside of the ship is also filled with haunting images, ranging from the undead enemies that Link has to fight within, to a curious face located in a small room at the back of the ship that dons a chilling smile, a smile which gives way to an expressionless visage as Link approaches. This mysterious nature has not stopped theorists, however, and there is one theory in particular that has me sold. So in the Wind Waker, Link is only able to board the haunted ghost ship once he acquires the ghost ship chart on Diamond Step Island, and inside the ghost ship lies a Triforce chart in the original Wind Waker and a Triforce shard in the Wind Waker HD. After Link acquires the treasure, the ghost ship vanishes entirely, never to be seen again, making Link wonder if it ever existed in the first place. Well, Link's not crazy. The ghost ship does exist, and its existence might stem from Ganondorf. Ganondorf is a warlock. Magic, specifically necromancy, is one of the many tools Ganondorf has used in the past to combat Link. In Ocarina of Time, he used Phantom Ganon. In The Wind Waker, he used Phantom Ganon. And in Twilight Princess, he used Phantom Riders, to name just a few examples. So it is highly plausible that the ghost ship is a phantom ship summoned by Ganondorf to protect the scattered pieces of the Triforce from falling into unwanted hands. The fact that it disappears once the Triforce chart or shard is removed indicates that the existence of the ghost ship is indeed tied to its role of protecting the Triforce shards. Similarly, the ghosts that Ganondorf used in the past also disappeared once they failed their purpose. This is an awesome theory, but it still does not tell us the true origin of the ghost ship. What is it a ghost of? Did Ganondorf just create the ghost ship out of thin air, or was there a group of pirates long deceased that Ganondorf chose to resurrect? As you might guess, I choose to believe the latter, and given Ganondorf's status as a Gerudo, would it not make sense that the deceased pirates who once held their lair in the Forsaken Fortress were Gerudo pirates, and that Ganondorf chose to resurrect them? And this brings up something I mentioned before. What if Ganondorf killed the Gerudo living in the Forsaken Fortress because they refused to serve him? If the Gerudo were unwilling to serve him in life, their spirits would be forced to serve him in death. A fact that is not unreasonable considering Ganondorf brainwashed Nabooru in Ocarina of Time to ensure her servitude. This is just logical theorizing, but there is one key feature of the Ghost Ship that, for me, connects it to the Gerudo. If you look at the front of the ship, you will notice that the carved figure on the ship's bow is praying. Normally this would just be a cool feature that adds to the haunting and mysterious nature of the Ghost Ship, but as you have now learned, the Islamic elements present in the Gerudo are very central to their identity. Now this praying figure does not scream Islam, but considering Nintendo's reluctance to openly reference Christianity and Islam in their games after Ocarina of Time, I can forgive this. This is cultural evidence that the Ghost Ship was once a ship used by the Gerudo pirates in the Wind Waker. So in closing, the Gerudo, after being nearly wiped out by the Great Flood, turned to piracy and made their hideout in the Forsaken Fortress. This makes sense given their Islamic cultural heritage. However, once Ganondorf learned of this, he came to the Forsaken Fortress, made it his lair, and attempted to force the Gerudo into serving him again just as he did in Ocarina of Time. The Gerudo resisted, so Ganondorf had them killed, and used his necromancy to revive the ship, which would become known throughout the Great Sea as the Haunted Ghost Ship. Only once Link was able to remove the Triforce shard from its hull could the Gerudo finally rest. I suppose their absence from the Wind Waker is more tragic than I originally imagined, but hey, there's beauty in the darkness, baby. Hey, thank you so much for watching. The Gerudo are a fascinating race in the Zelda franchise, and their historic similarities with the medieval and Renaissance Islamic cultures is one of the coolest aspects about them. Whenever I get the opportunity to merge my love of history with my love of video games, you know that I'm in a good mood. So please, tell me below what you think about this theory. I know a lot of theories surrounding the Gerudo's origin and fate already exist, so my goal with this theory video was to use a cultural analysis to patch in the holes of some existing theories and even come up with new ones along the way. How cool would it be if the Ghost Ship really is the former ship of Gerudo pirates in the Wind Waker? Come on. As always, check out the rest of my channel if you enjoyed this theory, and if you want to learn more about the Gerudo, check the description below for some video links. These videos are really good and help me formulate this theory. Alright, Renaissance Gamer No here. Take care.